All right, so make sure you guys use the timestamps in this video to find exactly what you're looking for, because I'm going to do my best to cover everything. So this video might turn out to be a little long. For starters, let's talk about everything that comes with the GoPro 12. Obviously, you have the GoPro itself. You're getting a Type-C charging cable. You're getting this helmet mount setup, which I'll show you how to use. And then you're also getting some paperwork, but most importantly, you're going to get this piece of paperwork right here, which has the QR code for the app that we need to download to install everything properly. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and grab my phone, and I'm going to open up my QR code scanner. And all I got to do is grab this paper, scan the QR code just like that, and then it'll take me directly to the app that we need in order to get everything up and running. So let's go ahead and hit install. And now we're just going to open up the app. Obviously, if you already have an account, you can go ahead and sign in. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and create an account. So the first question it asks is if we own a GoPro. We're going to obviously select yes, and we're going to set up our GoPro now. Now we want to go ahead and turn the GoPro on. So right here, we just grab the GoPro, and on the left side is where you have the power button. So we're just going to press and hold that for about 2 seconds. You'll hear that beep, and now the GoPro is on. So it's asking what language we want. I'm going to go ahead and select English. From there, it's asking about some legal stuff. I guess if we want to use the GoPro, then we have to agree to this. So I'm going to hit agree. And then it has the option of voice control. I'm going to actually leave this off for now. We'll talk more about this later in the video. And now it's running an SD card check, which I don't have one installed currently. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what we want to do is go on the right side here, and you can just stick your fingernail. It's got a little groove right there, and you can just kind of pull this down and then out just like so. And that reveals the battery if you need to, replace or remove the battery. It also reveals the Type-C charging port, which is what you use to charge the GoPro battery. So once you get it, you take the battery, install it into the device, and then you just plug in the Type-C cable right there. Charging it is literally as simple as that. To the right of the battery is a small SD card slot. So let me grab my SD card. And the way that you want to install it is with the pins facing the right, and we're just going to insert it directly down into that slot. Make sure it clicks all the way in there, and then we can go ahead and close this again. And now you can see it is directing us to the GoPro Quick app, and you want to make sure you have Bluetooth turned on your phone before you try and connect. So now let's go ahead and connect a GoPro, and as you can see, it starts the search for our camera. So we're just going to give this a second here, and now it's asking which camera we have. So we're just going to select Hero 12 Black, and now as you can see, it has found the camera. So we're simply going to click connect. Give it another second. And now what we can do is go ahead and give our GoPro a name. So let's just name it Hero 12 Black for now. Maybe we'll change it later, and we're going to save new name. So now it's telling us to install the update for the GoPro. So this is going to take a couple minutes. Let's go ahead and hit continue, and then we'll let it do its thing. Looks like the update is complete, and now we have access to all of the latest features. So we're just going to go ahead and hit OK. Now, if for any reason you have trouble getting the GoPro connected to the app, what you can do is come on the back of the GoPro, just on the main screen here, and you can swipe down to get to this quick menu, and then swipe to the right, and you can simply go to pair device, and that's going to put it in Bluetooth pairing mode. All right, so now that we got everything connected as far as the app, let's just talk about the basics when it comes to this camera. If you've used a GoPro in the past, chances are you already know this stuff, but just in case, we're going to cover it here really quick. So right on the top right here, this is going to be your shutter button or record button. So whether you're trying to take a photo or capture a video, that is what you're going to press right there. Over on the left, as we talked about earlier, this is your power button right there. And it's also your mode button. So it allows you to choose between the different modes, whether it's time lapse, photo, or video. And then on the front, obviously this is your lens cover right here. And if you're going to be purchasing additional lenses or ND filters, things of that nature, you want to know how to take this off. All you have to do is kind of pull out and then twist to the left. So let's show you how to do that here really quick. We're going to pull outward and at the same time kind of twist to the left. It does take a little bit of finger strength there to get it off properly, but as long as you do those 2 steps, it should eventually come off. Now to put it back on, it's really just the reverse. So we're just going to kind of push and twist to the right, just like that. Now on the bottom, you have this contraption here that allows you to use the camera with different accessories. So for example, the little helmet mount that comes inside the box. In order to connect it, what you can do is take these two little flaps and hold them down just like so. And now you can take whatever type of mount you want to use and you can line it up and just slide it in place like that. And then you can use your thumb screw to go ahead and secure it. Now, while we have the helmet mount right here, let me go ahead and show you how to properly use it. So inside the box, it comes in these two separate pieces right here. There's a rubber flap right here. You simply want to lift this up. So when you lift that up, it allows the part right here to kind of flex. And now what we can do is take the base plate and we can simply flex and push into place just like that until it snaps. And now we can put this rubber piece back in place there. So initially, when you first get the camera, it's going to be in a easy mode, so to speak. And that's to give you a very simple point and shoot experience, just so that you can get things up and running very quickly. Now, if you want to be a little bit more advanced and really dial in all of your settings yourself, we'll cover that a little bit later in the video. But first, let's just walk through everything while we have the camera on the easy mode. So for starters, the first thing I like to do is turn off the beeping sound. Any action that you do, a lot of the times the camera will have this, beeping response. And after a while, it does get kind of annoying. So if you swipe down, you can see that little music note icon there. So if that's something that's annoying you, just make sure you turn that off right there. Now let's swipe up to go back to the main screen here and talk about the different icons here on the screen. So right here, you have that little 1x icon right there. And that is to change your slow motion settings. So right now, 1x, that's just going to be normal speed. But if you tap that, you can see it brings up this screen right here. And then you can choose to slow things down as much as you want. And as you do that, it will change your resolution and things of that nature. So just be mindful of that, depending on what type of shot you're going for. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you can see where it says standard quality. And that is how you change the resolution of your video. So if we click that, you can see it has these different options here. So standard quality, that's going to be 4K. You have basic quality, which is going to be 1080p. If you want to use the highest quality possible, you can scroll all the way up there, and that is going to put it in 5.3K, which is going to, again, just give you the best video quality possible. So let's go ahead and swipe up, go back to the main screen here. And now you can see you have this W in the bottom left hand corner. And this is actually how you change between the different lenses. So depending on what type of shot you're going for, you can see you have your wide angle lens, you've got the linear option there. You also have the hyper view. So again, you can play around with those and see how they affect the overall look of your footage and see which one you want to use in different situations. Now in the bottom right hand corner, you can see you have this icon right here, and this allows you to change the framing of your shot. So right now it's set to widescreen, but you also have the option of vertical if you're trying to create a reel or something for social media that needs that vertical aspect ratio. And then you have full frame, which kind of allows you to do widescreen and vertical at the same time in a way where you can shoot it and then choose what aspect ratio you want after the fact, if that makes sense. Now, if we swipe to the left, that actually allows us to change the mode. So you can see we just went from video mode to time-lapse mode. And then if we want to go to time-lapse to video, we swipe right. Video to photo, we can swipe right once more. And then also you can use the power button to change your mode as well. So if we just press that once really quick, you can see it goes to the time lapse, press it again, video, and press it again, photo. If you swipe up on the screen, that will actually take you to your video footage or to your photos, depending on what you have on the SD card. And then if you simply tap the screen, you can see it gives you some options. You can choose to delete certain footage or photos, or you can even choose to highlight certain photos or videos so that you can easily find them later. Now, if you ever want a completely clean view here on the screen, in order to get rid of the icons, all you have to do is simply tap on the screen once. And as you can see, those icons will disappear. And then to bring them back, you simply tap once again. And now let's go ahead and change modes and talk about photos. So pretty self-explanatory here. Obviously in the lower left-hand corner, again, you have this kind of W icon right there. And that simply allows you to change between the wide angle lens as well as the linear lens. And then in the middle here where it says super photo, if you click on that, that gives you two other options to choose from. So you've got super photo and you have night photo. So with super photo, that's basically an auto intelligent mode where the GoPro will determine how to process your photo based on what it is you're taking a picture of. And then with the night mode, that is going to adjust the settings to give you the best photos if you're taking photos at night. So again, pretty self-explanatory. And now if we go back, you have this icon right there, which kind of looks like a stopwatch, and that is your shutter delay. So with this, it allows you to set a timer of either 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So once you press the shutter button, it'll wait that amount of time before it actually takes the photo. So that's going to be useful if you're trying to take a group photo and you want to be in the photo as well, or if you want to be sure not to introduce any camera movement or camera shake from physically pressing the shutter button, then this is a good tool for that. So let's go ahead and go back, and now let's talk about the time-lapse options. So we'll just swipe over again, and now we're in the time-lapse mode. And for this one, pretty much the similar setup. So right here, you can click on where it says time warp, and that will show you the different modes that you have access to. You got a total of 4 that you can choose from just by swiping up and down in that area. And for each one, you can see it gives you a general description of what the intended use is. So basically, you can go through these and kind of read each description to see if that's something that you want to use for whatever it is that you're trying to capture. So they make it really, really easy to kind of experiment and use these different time-lapse modes. And depending on which one you choose, that will actually determine what other options you have on the screen. So with the time warp, you can see we can't choose which lens we want to use because this particular mode is only compatible with the wide angle lens. But as far as the framing, you can see right here in the bottom right hand corner, we do have that option. You can see you have the option of full frame, you have the option of vertical, and then you have the option of widescreen. So now let's go ahead and talk about the quick menu, which you can access by swiping down. So up here in the upper left hand corner, if you want to turn on the voice controls, you can simply press that. We'll talk more about that later in the video. Right here, this little rabbit icon, if you press that, that is for your quick capture. So basically what this allows you to do, if the camera is turned off, what you can do is just press the shutter button up here, and that will actually turn the camera on and instantly start recording or take a photo depending on the mode that you have the camera in. So if something is happening really quick, it's an action shot or something like that, and you just really quick want to press that shutter button to try and capture the moment, that is going to help you do that quick capture mode. You also have this icon of a little padlock right there. So if we click that, that will actually lock our screen. So if you want to make sure you don't accidentally change something or change a setting or something like that, you can turn this feature on, and that will require you to slide to unlock the screen before you can do anything on the screen, if that makes sense. Now in the bottom left hand corner, you've got this X icon, and if you click on that, that gives you some options for the front screen of the camera. So for starters, you can choose to have the front screen turned completely off. Number 2, you can have the front screen show you just the status of the camera. So if we turn it over, you can see it shows that we're currently navigating the dashboard. You have the option of actual screen, or you have the option of full screen, depending on how much of the screen you want to see when you switch it over to that front facing side. And now you have this option right here, which is actually the screen orientation. I like to have mine locked in the up position. Otherwise, if you press this option again, you have all of the different arrows, and basically what that's going to do is change the screen as you change the position of the camera. So if you tilt it one way, the screen is going to go with you. But for me, I actually don't like that. So again, I'm just going to get it facing upright, and then I'm going to lock it in that position just like so. You also have the option to set up a max lens. That is a accessory that you can purchase. I don't actually have that, so I'm not really going to cover that here. And then if we go back and then swipe over, you can see you have some other options. So you can put it in Bluetooth pairing mode, like I showed you guys earlier. And like I said, we are in the easy mode, which is just a very basic point and shoot setup when you take the camera out of the box. And when you're ready to get out of that mode, you can go ahead and tap on this and you can swipe up and put it in pro mode. So we'll talk more about that later. And then you also have the preferences over here on the right. So you can go through this and, you know, look at all the different options that you have in here as far as getting things set up. I'm not going to cover every single thing because the video already is going to be pretty long. If we swipe back to the left and then to the left again, it'll actually give you some information regarding your footage and how much space you've taken up on the SD card and whether that footage has been uploaded to the GoPro cloud. So inside the app, it does give you the option to set up a GoPro subscription, which is a paid subscription, and pretty much that will allow the GoPro to upload the footage that you have on the camera to the GoPro cloud anytime you plug it in to charge, assuming you have a Wi-Fi connection. So really quick, let's just do a brief walkthrough of the app to show you the different features inside of here. For starters, you have the option to live stream using the GoPro, which is pretty cool. So if you click on the live stream tab there, it'll pull up this screen and you can choose which platform you want to log into and get set up for that live stream. So if that interests you, you can definitely take advantage of that. You also have the view media tab in here. So if we click that, and it'll actually show you your photos and videos on your phone, which is sometimes a lot easier than looking at things on the actual camera due to the small size. Right here, that is where you would set up the auto upload and set up the GoPro subscription if that's something that you're interested in. And you can actually turn the camera on and off using that power button in here as well, which is definitely really cool. You have the preview option, which gives you a live view of the camera and what the camera sees. So if you have the camera set up somewhere, you know, away from you, you can actually pull it up on your phone so you can still see exactly what you're preparing to capture. And speaking of that, you can actually use the phone to capture things as well, because you have that shutter button right there. So you can just press that, and as you can see, it initiates taking a photo, which is definitely really cool. Or you can switch it over to video and you can, you know, start recording a video as well. You also have this preferences tab right here, which allows you to pretty much do almost everything that you can do inside of the GoPro as far as getting things set up. And this is probably a little bit easier as well. Like I said, the GoPro, it's small in size, so some things can be hard to see. So it might be easier just to go into the app and look at things on your phone. So really quick, before we go any further, let's go ahead and talk about the voice commands. So if we go into the quick menu by swiping down in the upper left-hand corner here, you can see you have this icon with a person talking, I guess you could say. So if we click that, you can see voice control is now on. So you have a number of different voice controls that you can use to trigger certain actions. And I'll put them on the screen so you guys can see. But just as an example, right now we're in video mode. So what I can do is say, GoPro start recording. GoPro stop recording. Now I can also do GoPro photo mode. And now I can say GoPro take a photo. So in order to get the absolute best quality out of your GoPro 12, you want to switch it from easy mode into pro mode, because that's going to allow you to physically dial in all of your settings yourself. So in order to do that, we want to swipe down and then swipe over. And right here where it says controls easy, we're going to tap on that and we're simply going to swipe up and put it in pro mode. As you can see, provides full control over all settings. So for video, there are some things that you want to change in the preferences section first. So again, let's swipe down, swipe over, and we're going to click on this settings icon right there where it says preferences. And then we're going to go to video and we're going to do two things. So for starters, we're going to change the bit rate. We're going to change that from standard over to high. So now we'll go back and we're also going to change the bit depth. We're going to change that from 8-bit to 10-bit. So this is going to give us more color information in our files. And also, if you're interested in shooting log footage, if you know what that is, and if you're familiar with that, changing from 8-bit to 10-bit will enable the log option. And now that we're on the main display for video, and what we can do to start dialing in our settings is click this icon in the lower right-hand corner of those three lines, and you can see it pulls up our settings. So for starters, you want to pick your picture profile. So the options you have are standard, you have HDR, and then you have log. So if you're not familiar with log footage, I wouldn't really bother with that. It can be a little tricky at first, but pretty much what log footage does is help you maintain the most dynamic range in your video file. But again, I wouldn't really mess with that unless you're familiar with shooting in log, because it does require some post-processing in order to make the footage look normal. So you also have your aspect ratio. So you can go widescreen, you can go vertical, you can go full frame. We're just going to leave things on widescreen for now. And then you have your resolution. You can see you got 1080p, you can go 4K, you can go 5.3K, which is the highest quality possible. Now, depending on which one you choose, you can see it does change what other options you have down here as far as like the frame rate. So if you're wanting to go with some super slow motion type effects, where you want like 120 frames per second or 240 frames per second, keep in mind that's not going to be available when you select 5.3K. Now, if you go with 4K, you can see you have 120 frames per second, but if you go down to 1080p, that's the only resolution that allows 240 frames per second. I typically leave mine in 30 frames per second, so we'll just keep it there. You have your lens selection, and then you have your stabilization options. You have hyper smooth, which is the standard stabilization, and then you have auto boost, which is the more aggressive stabilization, or you can choose to have it off. I typically just leave it on hyper smooth, so we'll keep that as it is. And then under capture right here, you got some different options. So for one, you have a scheduled capture. So this is really cool because you can actually set a date and time for the GoPro to automatically start recording. So for some different situations that could come in handy. And then for duration here, if you set it to automatically start recording, you can choose for how long you want it to record. So that can be anywhere from a few seconds up to a couple of hours. You also have this option of hindsight, and this is similar to how iPhone does the live photos in a sense. So actually, before you start recording any video, you can set the GoPro to automatically record a portion of what takes place before you start recording. So you have the option of 15 seconds, or you have the option of 30 seconds. You have a timer option right here. So this is going to be for your shutter delay. So again, you have 3 seconds or you have 10 seconds. Go back, you have your zoom options. I typically do not use the zoom under any circumstance because that lowers your quality the more you crop into any image. So we'll leave that at 1 times, which is the normal field of view. And then down here under Pro Tune, you have some more important options. So you can choose your shutter speed down here. So you have the option of automatic, or if you want to stick to the general rule, which is 2 times your frame rate, you can go in here. I'm at 30 frames per second, so we'll go 1/60 for the shutter speed. You also have your EV compensation. So basically what this does is compensate if you feel like the camera tends to overexpose or underexpose your footage. So most people feel like the GoPro overexposes by a little bit. So if you feel that way as well, what you can do is come in here and you can pull down on this slider, maybe by just -0.5 or maybe -1 at the most. And that is going to compensate for that overexposure. You also have your white balance, and I typically leave that on automatic. But if you want, you can come in here and get a warmer temperature or a cooler temperature, as you can see. Now, another important thing is setting your ISO parameters. So this pretty much creates a bracket from which the ISO can operate. So for the minimum, you're basically going to leave that on 100, but for the maximum, I recommend bringing that down to around no higher than 800. That's going to help you keep the noise to a minimum because the higher that ISO goes, that introduces more noise and grain into your video footage. And you also have the sharpness option. And with this, I recommend bringing it down to low. The higher that sharpness is, it tends to give your videos more of a digital look and a little bit less natural look, in my opinion. So I recommend having it on low. And then if you want to add sharpening in post, you always have that option. As far as color, you've got a couple different options. You've got natural, you have flat, and you have vibrant. So that's going to give you a different look, a little bit different in terms of saturation and contrast and things like that. Typically, I just leave things on natural. You also have some options for your audio. So you've got wind noise reduction in here. You can come in here and experiment with these different settings. You got automatic. You also have it just set to on, or you can turn it off. depending on what you like. I'm going to leave it on automatic for now. And then you also have this right here, which will basically allow you to control how much processing the GoPro does to your audio. So again, you can experiment with these and see which one suits your needs the best. So now if we scroll down, you can choose to save all of these settings as a preset. So if you click this plus icon where it says save as, you can choose a name. We'll just call it custom for right now, but you can see you can scroll and choose, different names if you want. And we can click the check mark icon right there. And now that has saved all of our settings as a preset. Now, if we want to choose between different presets, what you can do is just click right here in the middle right there at the bottom. And now it'll pull up the list of presets and you can switch between each one. Now, if you ever create a preset and you actually want to delete it after the fact, what you can do is come in here and click on these three lines right next to the preset, simply scroll down to the bottom, and you can see you have the option to delete. So now let's go ahead and switch things over into photo mode. So right here, you can see you have a lot of the same on-screen controls as before. So you have your lens selection right there in the bottom left. Above that, you have your shutter delay. And then right here, if you click where it says custom, that will take you to the presets. So you've got 4 different ones to choose from currently, but for us, we want to create our own. So let's go ahead and click on the plus icon right there. And it says choose your mode. We simply want to choose photo. And for lens, I'm going to go with the linear lens right here. And then we'll scroll down. You have some capture options. So if you want to set shutter delay, if you want to set a scheduled capture, you have those different options right there. You also have your output option, and this basically decides how the GoPro will process your photo. So for super photo, that pretty much allows the GoPro to decide how to process it based on what you're taking a photo of. You also have HDR, and this is a good setting to use outdoors, specifically when it's really bright and sunny. So if we go down again, you have your standard, which will just save your photos as a JPEG with pretty much no processing. And then if you go down again, you have raw, which will save your photos as a JPEG as well as a raw file, which you can use for more flexibility when it comes to post-processing. So I'm just going to leave mine on standard. So then I'm going to go back and we can scroll down here and we can go under Pro Tune. So in here, we can choose our shutter speed, your EV compensation. So again, if you feel like the GoPro is overexposing or underexposing by default, you can come in here and compensate for that. So I'm actually going to set the EV compensation to -0.5. White balance, again, I typically leave that on automatic. Your ISO minimum and ISO maximum, I'm going to set the maximum to about 800. As far as the sharpness, I like to keep that on low. If we want to add sharpness after the fact, that is always an option. Color, I like to leave it on natural. If I want to boost the saturation or something like that, again, I can do that after the fact. So now we'll go ahead and click that check mark, and then we can choose a name. Let's call this one outdoor. We'll just call this preset outdoor. Now, in addition to deleting a preset, you can also come in here and rearrange your presets. So if you click on this icon right there in the upper right hand corner, now what you can do is click on the presets right here on the right, and you can rearrange them in the order that they appear. So that gives you a little bit more customization if you want to come in here and have easier access to your favorite presets. Now, really quick, before we move over to time lapses, if you're wondering what this icon is right there, that is actually the on-screen control for your interval timer. So if you want the GoPro to automatically take a photo at a desired interval, you can press that and set that up. So let's say, for example, you're going to a sporting event and you want to set the GoPro up to take a photo automatically every 30 seconds. You can see you can come in here and you can choose 30 seconds as the desired interval. You have other options as well, as low as 0.5 seconds and as high as 120 seconds. So now let's go ahead and switch over into time-lapse mode. So as usual, you have your lens selection right there, bottom left, your settings right there, bottom right. And what we can do is just click on the mode right here, and we can just scroll down and start to create our own preset. It'll ask us which mode we want to use for this preset, and we are going to go down and go to night lapse. Now, depending on what you're doing, you might choose a different one. From there, it's going to ask us the format, whether we want it to capture video or photo. I like to keep things on video. As far as the aspect ratio, we're going to use the typical widescreen 16:9. So we'll leave that as is. As far as resolution, I like to use the best possible resolution. So we're going to go with 5.3K. As far as the lens, I'm actually going to switch it over to the linear lens. And then under capture, you have some different options as well. So for interval, I'm actually going to set this to every 5 seconds. Under shutter, I actually leave that on automatic. Scheduled capture, I don't do anything there. As far as duration, I'll leave that on no limit. As far as the shutter delay or the timer, I'll leave that on 3 seconds. So that way, once I press the shutter button, there's no movement or anything taking place that could possibly throw off the framing or anything like that. As far as zoom, you don't want to mess with that. Again, if you zoom into the image, it's going to affect your resolution. So now if we come under ProTune, we have some additional options. For EV compensation, I like to bring it down just -0.5, just to underexpose a tad. As far as white balance, I leave it on automatic. For the ISO parameters, obviously the low end, I'm gonna have it at 100. And for the high end, I actually like to bring that down to 200. And for sharpness, again, I always like to bring that down to low. For color, I typically leave it on natural, and that's really about it. So as far as the name, we'll just call it custom. And now, as you can see, we have our built-in sunset time-lapse settings in place. So one last tip that I have for you guys is investing in a pack of ND filters for your GoPro 12. So these come in handy as far as shooting outdoors in broad daylight, because a lot of times when you're outdoors and it's really sunny, in order to get the proper exposure, you really have to ramp up your shutter speed to compensate for the amount of light coming from the sun, which can affect your motion blur and things of that nature. So I picked up these from Freewell here. It gives you 3 different ND filters, 3 different strength levels, as well as a polarizer. And again, it just gives you more control over your exposure in very sunny conditions. So that way you can dial in all of your settings exactly how you want, and you don't have to worry about cranking your shutter speed affecting your motion blur. And just to show you how to install, all you have to do is pull away and twist to the left, and then we can grab the ND filters. They come in this nice little pack here. I will put the link to these down in the description in case you're interested. And I can simply open it up, pick the ND filter that I want. And essentially it's just like a pair of sunglasses for your camera. And I can grab the GoPro, get it in place here, and basically reverse the process. So we just put it there and twist it into the right until it snaps into place. So there you have it. I know this video was kind of long. Hopefully you were able to get a rundown on how to use the GoPro 12, especially if it's your first GoPro. If you found this video to be helpful, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next one.